Hello, everyone.
Howdy,
and welcome to June.
The June Q&A.
That I think we can probably splurge and get a new card.
We still have room for at least 6 more months
All right,
on
we'll
here.
see if we can make it through launch. So, welcome to summer. This is our first summer update of Ace Developer Q&A, where J. Todd Coleman, creative director, and
Thomas Blair, lead designer,
sit down and take questions from you, the community, and we try and answer them in the best to the best of our ability, to the best that we know. So, all right, question number 1. I've seen a few design decisions lately, like AoE target and damage caps. Do you consider Zerging something you want to encourage or discourage, and what are your plans to encourage or discourage Zerging?
Zerging. So let's define what we think Zerging is.
Okay, sounds good.
Right, which is generally a group of people will group into a big ball, and they call it the Zerg ball, and they move around as a big ball. They're all nice, tightly packed, so all the AoE heals hit them, and they just annihilate everything.
Right.
Right? We have lots of things going for us that discourage this. We have all of our physics powers knocking people out of these big balls. We have powers that we put in with the druid, like Aura Emitter, which punish you because they're pulsing on each other, and essentially they kill each other really quick if they sit in a big ball.
Chain lightning. The chain lightning jumps from one target to the next.
And if you're grouped up, you're all going to get
hit by it. So there are a number of things. So I will say, here's the counterpoint to that, though, is having more numbers is a benefit.
It is an advantage.
Just is. It's an advantage, just like I am more skilled than you. That's not true, but if I was, that would be an advantage. So
Correct.
there is an advantage to larger numbers, but we do have a bunch of things we've done design-wise to basically defeat the idea of everybody collapsed into one small
the Zerg
ball moving forward. We don't want that to be the end-all, be-all of tactics.
And you can't even do it because of our player colliders. It's not like you could even physically
can't really do that very well. And we also, now that we have siege equipment coming online, we've taken some efforts there to do it as well. Like the ballista that's about to come online is specifically made for hitting, a targeted group of people and hitting them very hard.
And one of its powers is very similar to the Druid Aura Emitter, where it pulses, and the more people that are packed in there, they just start pulsing on each other, and they kill themselves really quick.
So one thing you guys haven't seen yet, but we'll be seeing very soon, is we've been spending a lot of time and effort lately on scaling up the number of combatants. Right now, you don't see fights that really happen with more than a dozen and a half players in the sessions, all in one spot fighting. And we got some really, really cool stuff coming down the pipe, where you're going to see that number dramatically increase very soon. So stay tuned for that. Question number 2. Promotion archetypes have not really been talked a lot about since your reveal. There was a lot of early excitement about promotions during the Kickstarter, and you really haven't talked about them since. What's up with that?
So they just kind of were put on the back burner while we were building combat.
That's the reason.
And that's really what's happening. Recently, we've actually started digging that up and identifying the archetypes and the counter archetypes and which ones will be really good at defeating the other ones and what that means.
Yeah, so and the most recent discussion we had as recently as this morning is how do we want to approach the promotion classes? Is it a set rule that every archetype will always have 3, for example? And the answer to that is no. We want to have some variability there, but the basic idea is, if you've got a class that is like the Knight, I might want to take him and I might want to specialize him more in offensive or more in defensive or more in whatever else, right? So the idea is that each of these promotion classes gives me, number 1, another way that I can feel different from the other knights that I meet, but number 2, it gives me a way to further specialize in the type of play style that I find personally.
And we don't want to build 3 promotion classes that are essentially 3 DPS classes.
No, it doesn't make sense.
Because it doesn't work out. 2 of them always suck.
Yeah.
Right? So let's not build a bunch of weak things. If we have strong ideas, we'll focus on those, and it'll be better.
And later down the line, we can always add more. That's another thing as well. Yeah. So, keep in mind that a lot of what we set up in the Kickstarter, what we're working on now, is really foundation for the game that's going to exist 5 or 7 years from now. Right. So we're looking at this with a long...
And I think the phrase that I've been using multiple times this week is, do we need parity in every single aspect for every single archetype?
And the answer is no. We absolutely do not.
Some of our classes move faster than others, and that is a huge departure from what you see in typical MMOs, right? Normally everybody moves the same, they have the same reach, and they pretty much do everything pretty similar.
Right.
And we absolutely don't want to do that.
Yep. Okay, follow on to promotions. Has your vision for promotions changed since originally announced? The answer is that we really haven't locked in what the promotions are. We're kind of doing that. There There are details that you can try to do on the front end, but realistically, they're just going to change later down the line anyway. When you actually build that class out, you're going to go, hey, we thought this would be cool. It's not. Hey, we thought this was going to be just okay. It's actually really fun. Let's explore that more. So I wouldn't take any of the original announcements of promotions as set in stone, because I personally don't feel like you can design that far ahead of the curve. I mean, I guess technically you could, but the game that would come out the other end would be terrible.
Right.
You have to be constantly playing and constantly trying the game out and adjusting in real time to find the right resonance.
And there's just sheer technical problems that we're looking at.
Yeah,
right?
that's true too.
I mean, do we have to times 2 or 3 all of our animations if we wanted to make new bodies for these guys, right? We've debated hey, is it a discipline slot thing you socket out, or is it a body a couple times?
Right.
And in many ways, this may be a technical answer, because it may just be too much animation data, right? So
it's always a balance. I mean, in an ideal world, we would have a giant animation team, right? Not just 2 guys. In an ideal world, we would have a giant character pipeline team, and we would be able to make everything custom and unique. We don't live in that world. Like, when you hear that there are MMOs that spent $100+ million, those aren't exaggerated numbers. They actually did spend that much money to build that game. We're nowhere close to that. So that's got to come out somewhere. It's not like those teams are just dumb and we can do with 1/10 of the resource what they did with this giant team of 300 people. That's not the way it works. So we'll do the best that we can to find that balance point between the coolest content and the most replayability and the most customization with the resources and money that we have.
Yeah, good answer.
All right. When will the mini campaigns begin? Will they start in summer or maybe closer to fall? So the initial campaigns that we'll do probably won't be seasonal. It'll just be, all right, come in the game, here's a start condition, here's the victory condition, play it out very fast. My expectation right now is that we will end up having another milestone that ships between now and that first campaign, because there was a whole bunch of stuff that's just coming online now relating to making the world bigger and making the world more and having more exploration game.
And having it stay up longer.
It's
a huge tech leap to go from 20-minute games to 72-hour games.
Right, exactly.
There's all kinds of problems that you have
to Not nearly as bad. 72 to a week is not as bad as 20 minutes to 72. So we will definitely get there. I can't say exactly what that list of functionality is going to be. It looks to me like we're going to end up having another milestone in between here and there. We'll announce that soon, though, once I have a better idea of what that actually looks like. So the other thing that internally has happened, we mentioned this a while back. You guys made fun of me actually for using the phrase development velocity, but it's an actual phrase. It's how quickly you make the game. But we've made a shift internally now to, hey, we can't continue constantly wrapping these things in smaller wrappers just for functional testing. We need to move on to building the actual game that we're making, the real MMO. And there's some really, really hard problems that have been hanging out there, like large number of combatants or large worlds with contiguous areas that you're dynamically loading. We have to get onto that stuff, and sooner rather than later. So we decided the time to do that is now. That is going to have some kind of an impact on what order you're going to see things come in. But we haven't really announced that yet, and I don't think we're quite ready to. So hopefully, I'd say probably this month, we'll come back and tell you, okay, here's the specific features that are coming on a little sooner. Here's the ones that are coming on a little bit later.
We'll still have Hunger Dome for testing.
Yeah, we'll still have
Siege Perilous for testing destruction.
And we'll be adding things to those as well, like the Ballista is the next piece of siege equipment, just like we added the Druid.
And the Druids going into Siege Perilous will make a big difference out there as well.
So we'll be incrementally changing those as well, but the other major track that we have under the covers is solving some of the really, really hard problems, and we're trying to do that now. So hopefully you'll see the results of that coming within the next couple months.
Yeah.
Will there be any fast movement features for campaigns and Eternal Kingdoms? So the example that they give here actually is the summoning spell that we had in Shadowing, where certain classes could actually cast a spell and summon people across the world. So we're not going to do that one. Will there be some teleporters? I'm sure there will be some. Yeah. But will it be common? Will it be powers that people can use? No. In general, our philosophy is to force more travel, especially travel with resources. So one of the things we discussed was even having those teleporters work where you can take yourself and your equipment, but you can't take resources through them. The point is we want movement around the game to be a
We
very
built this
important-
wonderful world
Right, that's supposed to be an important point.
full
part
of
the game.
stuff, right? Use it. Don't try and avoid it.
Yep.
And those call spells are always problematic. I mean, in Shadowbane, that's how they got to the GM Island.
Yes,
right?
it was. Yes, they would swim, drowning the whole time. And right before they were done drowning, they'd kick off the summon to summon another cleric. And then the first guy would drown, and the second guy would swim, and do it. And they managed to chain dead clerics along the bottom of the ocean to eventually make it to our test area, which was way off in an island off in the middle of nowhere. Yeah, you guys are clever. I'll get you that. I'll give you that one.
Oh, yes.
All right. So, while the worlds are not permanent, do you think there's room in the backstory or established mythology to allow for more worlds and modes than we currently have? The answer to that is absolutely. So I do have ideas of things that I would like to do longer term, even with the EKs, right? To try and kind of bridge the gap between EK and campaign world a little bit more. It's just that I'm trying to be careful not to continue promising more stuff between now and launch. We promised a lot.
Seems like a good idea.
Yeah, we promised a lot. We have a lot of things that we owe you guys, and we take that very seriously. So we want to go get that done. But it's not that we don't have larger, grander visions. We absolutely do. And hopefully, if the base of the game is fun and you guys all turn into monthly paying customers, you can support us and support
keep
those
building.
efforts. And we'll keep building forever. I mean, I would love to just work on this game for the next 10 years. That'd be really cool. So the answer is yes, we have more ideas. No, I'm not going to promise them yet. Though I think we could probably talk about them a little bit more later down the line.
Seems reasonable.
Cool. All right, I think that's it for this time.
All right.
Thanks, guys, as always. Thank you for your support. We can't thank you enough, and we couldn't do this without you. If you have questions, hit us up on the forums or hit us up on social media. We'll be happy to respond.
See you next month.
See you next month.